The global economic collapse continues, and today we will discuss how this debt crisis is creating new alliances. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I want to get into Greece first and extend that out into the situation that we are seeing now globally. Let's look at this, the big news of the day. Russia could offer debt-ridden Greece controversial loans and discounts on supplies of natural gas in exchange for the country's, quote, assets. This is a big concern for me, not just with this situation in Russia and Greece at the moment, but what I see happening is these debt-ridden countries, Greece, Spain, Italy, Portugal, and others, really pushed up against the wall. This all began with the credit default swaps in certain countries, and essentially the bankers using up the money and then really causing the collapse. Now, they are pushed to the edge, and what this does is makes these countries have to sell off their assets. And these are the most serious of assets. I'll get into one of those in a moment. And essentially what we have here is a terrible situation for that future outlook of the particular country. So no longer will you have the Colosseum of Rome owned by Italy, for example. It may be owned by the Walmart Corporation. Things like this could very well happen, and we're seeing it already taking place. This is just one piece of that puzzle. Athens' overtures to Moscow have raised fears the leftist government is pivoting east in search of alternative sources of finance as it bids to avoid bankruptcy. Ahead of his visit, Mr. Tsipras condemned economic sanctions on Moscow as a road to nowhere. First, I want to mention the fact that sanctions are in fact an act of war. They're always the beginning of war in most cases. We do not need to take this Cold War that is going on right now and further expand it. It really doesn't need to go there at all. I also wanted to talk about the alternative sources of finance. I've been bringing this up now that Russia could be there to extend its hand out for Greece, and this is undoubtedly occurring at the moment. Nothing official as of yet, but it certainly could happen. Now, if they're going to buy up the assets, it is not necessarily that they're being forced to do this on either side. But what concerns me ultimately is too much foreign investment in a country. Really, that country, of course, they make up the shortfall, but what about the long-term growth? Russia may in fact be helping them in this instance here. I'm not suggesting anything otherwise. I'm just thinking about this, the implications of this for not necessarily Greece, but other countries as well. Now take a look at this, and I believe this is extremely serious. I've brought it up in my videos before. Emir of Qatar buys 6 Greek islands for $7 million. So he's buying these islands for pennies on the dollar, and he's not the only one. We know Steve Forbes admitted this, privately at least, whereby they're buying things at pennies on the dollar, taking advantage of the financial crisis. People got extremely rich during this financial crisis, but the majority of the world in fact got more poor, and my next video in fact will be on that specifically. So this is one situation where they're actually selling off the islands themselves in order to make up for some of the shortfall. The corporations there not doing as well as they did before. And what's happening exactly? Well, I wrote about it in my book. This is one example. The unfunded liabilities in the US amount to over $60 trillion. And I say that this is a conservative number. If you really use some of the real calculations, the numbers are much higher. But even using this example, here we have trillions upon trillions of dollars on top of the global GDP, which we know is fraudulent. And essentially, this is all going to come to an end at some point. You cannot have this fraud continue forever. It doesn't work like that. So the nations are basically pushed up against the wall. The debt is too much. It is very burdensome to them, and eventually it all has to pop. So what will happen though is the corporations who have all the money, they have more GDP in fact than countries do. That's how serious this is. So you could very well have corporations begin to buy up assets of countries in need, perhaps in their own country or perhaps away from that. We've seen China buy up large amounts of real estate and other things really to get into business in the United States, even in Cyprus during that time. Not too long ago I covered that. Other countries as well. This is all going on right now, essentially countries or corporations taking advantage of a financial crisis. Now, there could be something deeper going on here. You have the Hegelian dialectic, the problem, reaction, solution, where they're able to create the crisis and have the solution prepared on the other side. Before I rant, I want to go on to how this connects in. So while the bankers are making record profits, while they're able to do whatever they want, the big corporations, they could take the bailout money from your pocket, go open up a factory overseas in China and Brazil, pay 0% in their taxes, and meanwhile, you have this. Some communities may have to cut water use by 35%, according to these regulators. I want to just move into the next article. It's all connected. This is out of the LA Times. This right here, Long Beach, CBS Local, water authorities are using a new tool in a major effort to crack down on people and businesses wasting water in light of new restrictions. So essentially, they're implementing these smart meters. They have them in already basically everywhere, and for the areas they do not, I assure you they are working on getting them in there. These smart meters are able to control and manipulate the amount of water that you are able to use. They're able to report that data back, and they're of course able to communicate with the quote smart appliances that are in your home. So this is being done intentionally, and I just want to move on one more time to this here out of Sacramento, and they're saying they could possibly restrict the flow of your water or shut off for wasteful water use. So they're going this far now to actually force it, not just to fine, but actually limit or completely shut off your water supply if they deem that you are wasteful. Now, the surface level, I totally understand there is a major drought going on there, and this is a very, very serious issue. But should they have the right to shut off your water supply? Meanwhile, certain corporations are allowed to do whatever they want. Their water supply is never restricted. This is not the way that it should work. And then we look into the deeper information where, like I mentioned only a moment ago, how companies like GE using billions and billions of dollars of the taxpayer money, they're never paying the taxes and they're shipping their jobs overseas, and that money could have been used to somehow fix this water problem, whether it's shipping it in from another region or what have you. This could have been at least temporarily resolved. This is not the way to go about what they're doing. I need to move on quickly. Secret plans to shutter mobile phone service during critical emergencies. That's right. They can come in, swoop down into your phone, shut it off. Now, this is for obvious reasons. They're saying, what if a terrorist could be using their cell phone technology in order to detonate a bomb? We need to be able to shut this off. I get that. I totally understand the reason why they want to do this. But this is an intrusion on your privacy, on your sovereignty, on your liberty, because that is your own device. What if, God forbid, you needed to use that in some sort of emergency? What if it was done to you by accident? What if it was being done as a test and all other conditions, and you needed to use that phone at the moment, but of course they were locking you down from it? Well, that is really getting into a much deeper topic. So this is a big situation. I can see both sides of the argument, absolutely, but it's really going too far. When you add it all up, don't just look at it individually as one thing. You need to look at all of the different aspects and realize that this is full spectrum dominance. They have their observations head to toe. Remember that. India, city police to use pepper spray drones. This is just one recent example, but this is where we are seeing the drones becoming more pervasive in our lives. So at the beginning, I'm talking about the deep situation here that we have countries indebted so massively, whether it's that they have to sell off their islands in Greece, or whether it is they have to go to the IMF and beg on their knees for some help. They always find more money for surveillance. Look at the NSA building up these new facilities for billions of dollars, but they can't afford to get more water into California. They have to be able to do something about this. This is unbelievable to see this happening before our very eyes. And what happens when people get pushed to the edge? What happens when they're pushed too far? Well, they fight back. Anarchists attack police with petrol bombs after Athens demo. This right here, April 7th from this, and we've seen what happened in Greece. We saw the food riots that have happened many times throughout history. People are indebted, nations are indebted, and we can see this taking place right now. The people are fed up and they're not going to take it. They are really engaging in violence many times. This is, of course, provocateur. It's stirred up, but it doesn't matter because the situation is real. It's happening, and it will happen in every major city. Now, one last article I wanted to throw in, because when the situation is getting bad and it's getting depressing, people unfortunately do terrible things. Las Vegas man kills himself after casino revoked his lifetime free buffet pass. This is really, I believe, sad to think about, because the situation is becoming so grim where people don't have this desire for life and they don't have the deeper teachings that they need. And this is exactly the kind of thing that shouldn't really affect many people, and unfortunately it does. We're seeing a lot of this happening right now, and this is just one very sad example. I'll let you think it over and mull it over, but anyway, that's it for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. I truly appreciate it very much. I'm trying to get as much data to you as possible in a given video, in a given week, in a given month, year, and so on. So I'm trying to really pack it all in. I hope that you appreciate that. Please, at any moment you want to let me know anything, your comments, constructive criticism, if you want to see a video on a particular topic, really send me those and I will definitely research it. I'm constantly adding to new videos that I will be doing down the road, all the time, consistently adding, and I hope that you enjoy that as well. And of course, last but not least, do not forget to become an insider, because it's where I give out the best intel for free, and that is available at themoneygps.com. All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.